Okay, okay. Well, welcome again, because I don't think you can say welcome enough. Because we appreciate you for being here. Because if you weren't here, Dr. S and I would have just done this by ourselves.
We'll just be talking to ourselves, and that's no fun after a while. We love each other's company, but it's better when we have an audience. So,
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I would agree. And thank you, co-host, for tackling, making sure everybody's in here, dealing with the mics. We appreciate you. We appreciate everyone's time. Well, let me introduce myself because I don't want to assume everybody knows who we are. I am Dr. Tiffany Marie. Hendricks is my actual last name, but I'm Dr. Tiffany Marie on social media. And I was practicing family medicine for 20 years, urgent care, private practice. I even had an aesthetic practice for a few minutes too. But I did telemedicine the last 4 years, and that was something. I got to take care of people across 48 states. So I got to see just how sick we are. And I realized, look, I'm done with writing these prescriptions because all you're doing is one, not taking them. Let's be real about that one. Sometimes we're not taking those meds. Two, you're taking them and then you have another symptom, then you have to get another prescription for that symptom and that problem, and now you got a whole basket of meds. Who wants that? I know I didn't want that. And I realized that's not what I came into medicine to do. I had a colleague who was board certified in lifestyle medicine, and I looked into what this is about. And it's about going after the root causes of conditions. And I said, okay, yeah, focusing on how we eat, how we sleep, how we manage our stress, our mental health, and in the exercise, all these things we know we need to do. But how about we coach and help our patients better with that, right? And so I got board certified in that. And then I started getting on social media. And as you can see, I like to talk. So I didn't have any problems talking about all these things you should do. And it just snowballed from there. I met somebody else. There's something about alignment, right, Dr. Esther? Something about meeting somebody who understands your vision. And she showed me
yeah.
these natural products that we're going to get into later. And I've been telling from the rooftops. I was able to get off my blood pressure medicine. I was able to get my waistline the way I wanted to do. And I got some pictures to show you too. And able to actually not have to deal with depression and get off of those medications because sometimes y'all will drive us crazy. I mean, y'all is impatience, but I'm on one
Oh,
today. So,
yeah.
but I decided this is what I want to do and no longer keep writing prescriptions. And so I decided to step out of the traditional medicine space. What I love about my friend here, my sister doc, Dr. Esther, is she decided to transform it from within. So welcome, my friend Dr. Esther, and you tell us what you're doing here. Who are you?
Okay. Let me see. Do I need to highlight myself?
Yes, I can
Okay.
take myself off.
Okay.
You're good.
Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Esther Ngare, also known as Moyeria. Uh, those who know me as Moyeria. I am a family medicine physician. I am right out of Houston. I lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania before, and for the last 10 years now, I've been in Houston, Pennsylvania, Houston, Texas. So I practice in the direct primary care space. And of course, what that does is that it allows me to see, to have more time with my patients. But the frustrating thing for me was as much as I had more time and being able to talk about all the lifestyle things, and because at the heart of everything, whenever we talk to our patients, we're always telling them, what can you do other than just giving you medications? But it felt like it was this losing battle. We talk about lifestyle, but then the patients would come back and they weren't really able to do that. And so we'd end up starting medications. And I know one of the sinking feelings that I would have is that because I knew the moment we start one medication, that was it. It would be that another one the next time they come in, and another one, and maybe something to treat side effects. And it almost felt, and this has been a feeling like right from residency, where you just feel that whenever you start one medication for any of these chronic medical problems, it just became one after the other, after the other, after the other. And so there was this sinking feeling about it. But you see, when it's somebody else, you don't think about it until it got to me. And I started finding that I'm struggling with the same things that my patients would talk about. A big one was fatigue. And I'm thinking, how am I talking to patients about all the things that they need to do while I'm doing these same things, or I'm trying to do them, but it's so hard. And it was in that space that I stumbled onto this because I just decided to listen to a call like this one. And I found literally what has been life changing for me. And one of the things I always want to do is that I treat my patients the way I'd like to be treated. And so when I find something that works, I want to share it with my patients. And working in this direct primary care space has allowed me to be able to share this with my patients, but also with people outside, my family, my friends. And one of the things that happens, the transformation that happens just makes people ask you, what are you doing? And you find that you have to keep sharing. And so, long story short, here we are sharing on a bigger forum because we feel that these tools and just knowing what is going on with our bodies and how we can stop that vicious cycle of just going into more and more medications. So there's a way to stop it, and there's a way to actually roll back that tide. So, that's why we're here. So
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, perfect. I love this. I like this different perspective that we bring. And so I guess I need to get into well, no, we decided we wanted to talk to one of our people. Who was going to be the first testimonial?
Richard?
It's Richard. Richard,
Richard.
where are you? Are you here?
I'm here, Dr. Tiff.
Okay, there you are, Richard. Let me see what I can.
You see him? And man, you guys have got to hear Richard's story. And we're going to make sure he gives you all the stories. Sometimes you just hear part of it, but his story is huge and powerful. And so I'm glad you could take the time to join us as we pull you up.
Anytime. Well, I
Did
was
you find him, Dr. E?
Yes, I found him. Can you see him?
Mm-mm.
I just spotlighted him. Oh, no?
Oh, you did? Okay, let me get us out of here. Okay, go ahead.
So I was suffering for severe gout pain for 20 plus years. I have high blood pressure. I have severe sleep apnea. I'm morbidly obese. I have congestive heart failure. So for years, I've been struggling. With my gout, I've been struggling moving to the point that I'm gaining more weight because I'm less moving mobility, and to the point that I was already looking for other things. I've been asking my doctor to help me, surgery, whatever. Uh, uh, but you know what? I even asked for Ozempic at that time, but he said that my uh, my my numbers are not that high yet. So we even went outside our insurance to go to a weight loss clinic, but it doesn't work. It's just costly and it doesn't work. And with my third congestive heart failure, that's the time where my wife and I really had that talk. That talk that, okay, ma, I think my time is coming up. My third congestive heart failure, I had they have to do that thing on me that they have to zap me, and
They had to revive you.
yes,
Yeah.
and you know how when I woke up after that, I saw a bunch of faces in my face. I'm like, wow, what am I? Am I in heaven or am I in the basement? That
Oh,
feeling. It's kind of scary. So after that hospitalization, I told my wife, you know what? Maybe the fourth one, I won't make it. You know, I told her, you know what? Let's get everything settled. Let's get everything, arranged, so you don't have to worry about nothing if that happens. At that time, my ejection fraction was 23%.
mm.
So because of my gout pain, I was drinking myself to the point that I'm drowning my heart. That's how bad it was. I've been on pain every single day.
Mm.
I at one point I logged myself drinking 7 liters of water just to remove this this gout, to the point that my gout was deforming my fingers already. I cannot even make a full fist. I cannot kneel down. Every day I wake up, it's so painful. But I have to put on a smile so my family won't, have, they know I'm suffering, but I don't want them to be miserable because I'm suffering. You know, my family and I love to travel. We do a lot of adventurous stuff, to the point that I'm telling them, you know what, you guys go. You know how hard it is to watch your family go on a fun hike and you're in the parking lot watching them go up. To me, that's more heartbreaking,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm.
And to the point that we were telling, I was telling my wife, look, go see the world, travel, have fun, don't wait for me anymore.
Mm.
And then to that point that, okay, you know what, ma, I think it's the end is coming. And then one day she came home with that box. I'm like, wow, what is this gonna do? And lo, you know, I never expected that it will do a lot of wonderful stuff for me.
Mm.
First day it was surge of energy. Without my heart pumping, racing. The 2 weeks after, I can already make a fist. As you can see, one more finger I cannot close.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's, to me, that's the biggest.
Yeah.
To wake up with no pain. I know I can manage my gout. I mean my weight. As long as I can start moving again, I know I can lose all this weight. But you know what? Waking up with no pain, being able to grab my hammer, my drill, even a pen is a huge. Because can
Yes.
you imagine, like this, and then all of a sudden after 2 weeks I can make a full pace except for one more, and then usually this one was already deformed going that way.
Mhm.
Now, my goodness, and then I'm off my allopurinol already, totally zero.
Oh, now you're off.
Yep.
Yes,
Oh, wow.
and
Yay.
my doctor cannot even believe it. I told I told her, look, I'm taking this protocol. Look it up in the PDR. She was very skeptical. I'm like,
Mhm.
look, you saw me, I cannot do this. You saw
Mhm.
me, I was 55. My size, my weight size, my waist size was 55. Now I'm 44. I
Woo.
started this.
Wow. That's
Start,
11 inches already.
yeah, started this. What? I was on Ozempic for 10 months, and she looked at my prescription order. I did not order my prescription for 2.5 months already.
Mm.
And I told her that's how that powerful this protocol is that I've been telling you, and you told me that no, don't, like, you know what, I told her I'll come back when I'm sexy, when I'm size 40, then you probably believe me. I told her I'm
Wow.
not doing anything special, you know and
That's amazing, Richard.
yeah,
Yes, I love that. Because
I
last
can
time, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead, Dr. Tiffany.
I was going to say last time you were just decreasing the dosage on the allopurinol. That's why, for those of you who are like, oh my gosh, she's like kirking out. No, I really did not know you were off your allopurinol. I mean, that's even more
Yes,
progress. I
yeah.
love it.
And as you can see, I have a neck now, Dr. Tiffany. you know this See how loose my clothing now, you know and I told my doctor, look, I did not do anything, special. I just took
Mm,
this protocol, you
mm,
know
mm.
and I just added this is like food. Guess what, this is the result. Nothing
Yes.
Yep.
special. I told her I still eat, but you know what, I'm eating less and less and less.
Mhm.
I'm
And for
enjoying
those who are,
life.
Yes.
sorry, no, okay, just finish, Richard.
And I I can't wait to see my cardiologist. And
Ha
Because I told my wife, now that I'm off 2 meds, okay, I think I'll slowly. I know for a fact that my ejection fraction went up more than 50 already. I know
Mm,
that I can feel my heart getting stronger. I don't feel
mm-hmm,
skipping a beat no more.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
No.
my wife and I have been going to hikes like we used to love, and you know, it's a new lease in life. You know, I got the taste of life back.
Yes.
And
Yes.
That's amazing. Yes.
last time we talked, I was telling you about my 150-mile walk from Spain to Portugal.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Ah,
Awesome.
Yes, it's
love
already
that.
booked and planned.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Well,
Yes,
congratulations. I love this for you, Richard. This is why we are doing this. This is why this is so much fun. Thank
yes.
you so much, Richard, for sharing all of that. I told you his story was good, people. I told you.
And for those who are wondering, Richard started on this protocol the last week of August. So we're not even talking years. The
Yes.
last week of August, it's just, we're still below 6 months. So we're almost reaching just the 6 month mark, and you can see the difference.
So
But
right.
anyway,
That's last time I talked to you, Dr. Tip. My wife was handing me a list of to do things. Now
Uh-huh.
I'm building her dream walk-in closet.
Oh, shoot. Oh,
Yes.
I love that. I know Suzanne is happy. I love
No, you,
that.
you should see my wife now. Oh my God.
Oh, really? Oh, we
Yeah.
got to get her on next week then.
Yeah.
Suzanne, you up
yeah,
next week. If she's on, you next week. All
you're
right.
on next week. Yes.
This is
Yeah.
great, Richard.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
let's kind of get into the meat of what we are talking about. And so let me pull up my little slides to kind of get things going. And so what we're dealing with here, we're going to go into the actual protocol that Richard did, but we're going to talk about what we are tackling with this protocol. What is the whole purpose here? And lots of times people think of the A1C as being something just for sugar. So I like to do this poll and be like, what do you guys think insulin actually means? And so most people, when you talk about insulin resistance or insulin, first thing they think of is diabetes, as if that's the only thing, right? Well, we're going to talk about all the other things that actually result from your insulin being too high, okay? Um, and it's really all the metabolic conditions too. So understanding insulin and endocrine health, because insulin is a hormone, it is a crucial hormone, fuel switching, and that plays a key role in regulating our energy, our fat storage, our hunger, and our hormonal balance. And so to have a healthy metabolism, we got to keep that insulin in check. And so how does metabolic dysfunction develop? Well, refined carbs are kicking our butt. And when I say refined carbs, I'm talking about these processed and ultra processed foods and snacks. And what's so crazy is some of these things kind of came out of that whole everybody's dying of heart disease. What should we do? We should get rid of fat in our food. And now we're going to have all this fat-free food with lots of sugar in it. And we're reaping the benefits of that decision. And so when you have the constant eating and you have the refined carbs, it's going to actually allow those insulin levels to stay elevated because insulin gets released when your foods break down into glucose. Carbohydrates break down into a lot of glucose. So then you're going to release more insulin. Okay. And those ultra processed carbohydrates, oh my gosh, they release a lot of insulin. So over time, if you're doing a lot of refined carbs, that's going to keep insulin high. And when insulin's high, it likes to store fat. It likes to increase fat cells. And then over time, if you think about this, insulin's floating around the bloodstream because of the carbohydrates or because of the frequent eating. And now those cells start to stop listening. They literally down-regulate the receptors. And so they're like, I'm not hearing insulin anymore. So you have all this insulin in the bloodstream and you're not getting the glucose into the cells like you want to in the beginning. But what this does is you have high insulin in the bloodstream and the cells not responding. That is what makes insulin resistance. Those two things together. And when insulin is high, it will stuff that glucose into the fat cells. And that's where some of that weight gain comes from in the midsection. And then when you have those fluctuating blood sugar levels, because of that insulin being high and how quickly it shoots down the glucose when you eat those high carbohydrate meals. Your poor brain, when it becomes insulin resistant, it starts to have trouble with decision making, clarity. You get that brain fog and fatigue. And then the connection with gut health and dysbiosis and inflammation. It's like an awful circle with this. So when we talk about the gut, we're talking about the gut microbiome from your mouth to your anus. Trillions of bacteria in there, and they're in there for a reason. They're in there to get the nutrients out of the food you eat, for one, but they're also there to get rid of the toxins and the pathogens, and that's what gets, out in your stool. Well, if you're eating the wrong foods, or if you aren't feeding the gut with the appropriate nutrients that you need, and unless you're eating the rainbow of your veggies, unless you're eating 5, 6, 7 servings of veggies a day, you're not feeding your gut what it needs. The amount of fiber that we need, we are nowhere near that. Usually the average is nowhere near that. Years ago we used to be, but that has not become a staple in our food. And even some of my people who do eat more veggies or who are vegetarians and vegan, because it's hard to get the whole rainbow, because it's hard to get these veggies without any extra toxins, we still aren't able to feed our gut the way we need to. And so if you don't feed your gut the way you need to, that good and bad bacteria, you're having a hard time breaking down and getting the micronutrients, getting the vitamins, getting the food products that actually heal you from the food you eat. You can't even break it down to get it. And so you have a lot of deficiencies for some things because of how your gut is working. So having a gut that works appropriately is huge, 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 huge. And then when that lining actually starts to get broken down because of the different types of bacteria or the yeast or any other pathogens, that becomes a leaky gut. And then that stuff in your gut starts to leak out. And so can you imagine that stuff leaking out and now your body is confused? It actually impairs your T cell function that's involved in our immune system. And so it impairs it from working appropriately. So your poor body doesn't know what to attack. And that's how some of this autoimmune conditions start to develop. At least that's one of the theories. And so if we actually heal our gut, some of these autoimmune conditions start to improve. And when I say autoimmune conditions, I'm talking about rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, Hashimoto's, that's the autoimmune condition of the thyroid. I'm talking about ulcerative colitis. I'm talking about lupus, okay? And then because 90% of serotonin actually comes from the gut, so if your gut is not working like it's supposed to because you aren't able to feed it the right things because you can't get the right things, now we're seeing problems with mood. We have so many people dealing with anxiety and depression, so many people feeling miserable. And once they get their gut back in alignment, we're seeing people get off of anxiety and depression medications. Heck, I was one of them. I was one of them. Every year around the fall season, I would go into a depression. Now, it was started by a loss of my child, but I still would get into that space. And so having something to help me work on my gut and help me improve my mood was everything. Now my kids call me, act like I'm in my hippie stage. So, and people who know me, they probably would agree. Now, so in restoring your gut health really does also enhance performance. Okay. And so when you get that gut balance, that leads to improved overall well-being and performance, as well as the immune function. So what are the signs and symptoms of insulin resistance? And yeah, these symptoms are connected. They are not random. So constant hunger and cravings. That's why, when you have somebody who's dealing with insulin resistance, it's hard to tell them, okay, just stop eating, right? Just take a break. Maybe try fasting. Some of them are going to need something to help make that easier and turn off that food noise, those cravings, okay? Fatigue after meals. Yes, if insulin is high when you have insulin resistance, because it is, it's going to shoot down that carbohydrate meal, that heavy carbohydrate meal that you are taking in, and it's going to allow them to it's going to overshoot it some. So the sugar's going to drop low. And that's where the fatigue comes, the itis comes from. That's not a cultural thing. That is from the food we are eating. Then the brain fog, anxiety, depression, as I was discussing earlier. And because when insulin is high, it likes to pack that glucose into those fat cells, usually the visceral fat. And this is the fat that actually kills us and takes us out of here. So I know we worry about the snatched waste, but more importantly, we need the visceral fat, the fat around our organs to improve. That's what's actually leading to the heart disease and these other conditions that are terminal. Difficulty losing weight, yes, because that fat likes to be stored around the midsection. So you can keep running around and decreasing your calories, but if you don't tackle insulin, that is not going to really come off. High blood pressure. When insulin is high, it actually makes the kidneys hold on to sodium. So I know my people are like, but high blood pressure is caused by too much sodium. Well, not true. Yeah, yeah. Okay, if it's overdone, yes. But at this point, everybody's eating low sodium everything, low sodium bacon, low sodium any type of snacks. Everybody's paying attention to low sodium, and you know what? The blood pressure numbers are not going down. Why is that happening? Because it's not the sodium we need to be following. We need to be following the sugar from the carbohydrates. So when insulin is high because of the sugar from the carbohydrates, now you have the kidneys holding on to sodium. And if we go back to chemistry class, water follows sodium. Now you have increased blood volume. Also, when that insulin is high, it starts to, I'm going to say, fluff up the inner lining of the blood vessel. So you guys can get a mental picture. Like when you're driving over bumps on the road, you have to slow down. Or you have to drive faster to get over those bumps quicker, right? So your heart has to pump harder to get that blood through. And then also, when insulin is high, it impairs nitric oxide. Nitric oxide dilates blood vessels. So now you don't dilate the blood vessels, they're stiff. Now they're all fluffy inside. Now you have more blood volume and now you have high blood pressure. And then when the insulin is high, it goes to the liver and increases triglycerides, but decreases the HDL. Triglycerides is what clumps around your food. But that ratio right there gives us a good idea of if you're dealing with insulin resistance. And then skin tags. I love this one because everybody wants to tell me that's not true. That's not true. There are studies that show if you have more than 5 or 6 of these skin tags, it is not because your auntie had them or your uncle had them. It is because of insulin resistance. And some of these dermatologists know it, and they'll tell you this will come back. I'll shave it off. I'll get my couple $100 for this procedure, but you're going to come back. And then polycystic ovarian syndrome, where the insulin is actually allowing those cysts on the ovaries to grow, and also the leading cause of infertility for women, okay? Thyroid issues, poor sleep and low energy. And then what are these diseases that come from this metabolic dysfunction? I've been talking about it over and over and over again. Heart disease and stroke. This is the stuff taking us out of here. Okay, fatty liver disease. We thought this was just from alcoholics. No, 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 dear, because kids are getting this now. So clearly they're not drinking, right? So no, it's the fructose, it's the other stuff we're taking in. Linked to dementia and cognitive decline. Alzheimer's disease is now being called type 3 diabetes, meaning insulin resistance of the brain. So if we tackle all this food and these lifestyle changes ahead of time, you mean to tell me we can actually help this? We're seeing the science that says yes. And then the exacerbation of the autoimmune diseases, like I said, chronic pain and arthritis, because when you increase inflammation, where's that stuff going? To the joints. That's causing the pain. I mean, Richard was talking about the quality of life being, and you know what's so cool? I got to actually walk around with Richard in our Spartan race. So I got to see this stuff in action. This stuff really happens. And then erectile dysfunction. I love this. This is my doorknob question that my men would say. They'd wait to the whole end of the visit and they'd be like, well, Dr. Tiffany, this is a real problem. And it does not have to happen with age. If we actually get you to change your lifestyle, ladies, you get your men to change their lifestyle, you could help this problem. We are saving marriages over here. Now, why does A1C miss the full picture? It's because A1C is not going to kick up until sugar is high. But way before the sugar is high, you just have insulin in the bloodstream. And unfortunately, an A1C of 5.7, that's when prediabetes is diagnosed. But 5.0 to 5.7, you still have an increase in cardiovascular risk. But nobody's paying attention to that. And so what are some things we need to look at? We need to look at a fasting insulin level, the triglyceride HDL ratio, like I told you about, the waist circumference, inflammatory markers like CRP, and your symptoms. So understanding this, I like to empower my members to know what they're ask their doctors about, their providers about, to get a better picture when they go to the doctor and the doctor's like, oh, your labs are good, but I don't feel good, doc. Something else is happening. This is what you need to ask about, okay? And so I actually like to use what I'll call the fighter method. And so, and it's just something I just put together there. You know, this isn't anywhere. I haven't written my book yet. So F is for fasting. This decreases insulin levels because literally if you stop eating, you're not going to have to release insulin. Literally, right? That should make some sense. But the bigger picture of this is when you tap into autophagy, and there is someone who got a whole a Nobel Prize for this, you actually get cellular repair and healing. Your body will do that on its own. These tools just help you get there. Insulin-focused eating, doing the whole foods, avoiding those processed foods that are literally trying to kill us, eating low glycemic index carbohydrates when we want to have them, and being intentional about our protein intake. Toxin avoidance, and really adding being mindful of our gut, making sure we put that fiber first. But of course, avoiding all these other things. Alcohol tears up our gut, people. Drugs, the pesticides, the stuff we can't control in the ground on the veggies that we're eating, right? Well, we can try to get organic and pray they don't have as many of those things in there, right? But that's why the fiber blend that we have is helpful. We're able to add those things that we might be missing. And then exercise. And I like to meet people where they are. You know, I have people like Richard that weren't doing much. They were in pain. So they weren't going to be doing much exercise. So you can't go tell them go work out. If you want to lose weight, just work out. What they can't do that. So what do? We have to get something to help improve the inflammation. We got to get something to help give them some energy. And that's what we do with these products. But physical activity, and I love resistance training because I'm not trying to be 70 and 80 and can't get off the floor. Plus, increasing your muscle allows you to use that insulin better. Muscle has more insulin receptors on it. So yes, ladies, you need to do resistance training too, not just the men. And then rest, recovery, relationships. Our sleep is huge. Okay, not sleeping is not great. Messes with the cortisol, messes with your blood pressure. I have so many people that are like, I don't know why I can't lose weight, but I don't sleep. I mean, I never sleep. Well, that's a problem. Managing your stress, huge again. And then your mental health and your relationships. I believe, I'm a believer. I believe we were designed to work with each other. These connections are huge for our health, our mental health, and our physical health. Now, final thoughts. I'm all about less prescriptions, more living. That's why you have me on this Zoom, right? But optimal health goes beyond just managing numbers. I don't longer want to just manage. I want to see things just fully reversed. I want to see people be able to get off of their meds because their conditions have actually reversed. How about that? I love this phase in healthcare that we are on. Your body isn't broken. You just need the right tips and tools. And that's exactly what Dr. Esther is going to show to you next. Well, I got excited, didn't I? Because I want to show some pictures. Let me do that.
Okay. I mean, this is all exciting stuff. We have to share it. It's exciting.
We do. So the stuff we're talking about, we have some pictures of people that have been using these products and they've allowed them to do some of these lifestyle changes. So we get to have a win-win. And I love this picture with Cody. Cody lost about a good 70 pounds here, but if you notice, he doesn't have that skin flapping around. There's something about the fasting that helps to eat up some of that fat in the skin to where you don't have that flapping around and need to pay all that money for surgeries, right? One of my friends was able to get off of her diabetes medicines after being on them for 23 years, after 7 months of using the products we're about to tell you about. And my friend Jackie here, down 104 pounds and still keeping it off. And can't nobody tell her she's not cute, okay? Because she's cute. And then Jonathan Scott, an NFL player, he was really struggling with psoriasis, so much so that he was on the psoriatic board, right? And psoriasis is directly linked to insulin resistance. And a lot of people don't realize this. And so once he started using the products, that started to clear up. We can't see it in this picture, but it was all on his scalp. But he also lost 50 pounds in 50 days. And then that's me. I like to pass by this. Don't nobody need to see this. But I thought I was cute in both pictures, though. I will say that. But I've talked about getting off my blood pressure medicines. I talked about getting off my antidepressants. And I talked about, I didn't talk about the hot flashes and the migraines, besides the fact getting in that dress that I want to wear. And then Dr. Esther. This is my sister, Doc. And she looks fabulous. I love how you took a picture in the same dress, though. This was smart. This was genius. And I'm going to let her tell her story when she comes back on. This is my friend who pretty much thought she was the healthiest person. All her friends said she was the healthiest person. Jumping out of planes. She was like, I know 93% of people supposed to have some metabolic health issues. I'm the 7%. And so she took a picture of her neck because we were talking about skin tags. She was like, okay, I'm going to see if this stuff works. And so on May 2nd, that's the picture of her before she was starting this protocol. And then June 24th, she's noticing, oh, okay, maybe Dr. Tiffany was telling some real stuff. My skin tags are looking better. And I get people telling me this all the time. This skin tag fell off. This one under my arm fell off. This is real stuff. And then Keith, actually, now he has lost 90 pounds, but he had a significant, where he went cardiac arrest, type 2 diabetes, horrible. And yes, I have a picture to show of an awful ulcer. And some people are like, you guys keep showing this. But when you see healing like this happen, see, let me say something very clear. I have never seen this happen practicing 20 years, okay? Never seen an ulcer like this get better by taking an herb and some fiber. Never. So in January till June, he was still struggling doing the traditional route, hyperbaric oxygen stuff. And that's where it got. And it did get some better. Yes, it did. But 3.5 months using the products we use? Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep showing this picture. And then we have a type 1 diabetic. And I love this because so many people are like, well, how is that going to help? Well, because insulin resistance does end up happening even with type 1 diabetics. And so when you're using these products and getting the insulin down, they need less insulin, which is great because that way they don't hold on to fluid as much, put themselves at risk for heart failure, all these other complications, and it gets their sugars down. And I want to end with this. This is our man, Richard, who was on here. And this is the guy I got to go through the Spartan race with, who's now planning this elaborate trip and is able to move around, has his quality of life back. I am loving it. I am loving every minute. Now, Dr. Esther, you can go.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, let me get on before you keep getting excited about all this and we'll never get to do. Okay, let's see. Okay, and I'm not going to go because, you know, we talk about this thing, some of the stuff Dr. Tiffany has already spoken about. What we are talking about is this protocol called the Feel Great protocol. And, you know, as Dr. Tiffany talked about, you know, our modern diet dilemma, the eating frequently. I'm sure many of you can maybe not exactly the same foods, but probably the same, you know, the same kind of eating pattern, you know, whether it's 2 hours in between, 3 hours in between, where you feel like every waking hour you're eating. And what's happening is that that consumption just keeps this, the purple is your blood glucose, and then the dotted line, that's your insulin. So that keeps happening. And what we're looking at is, you know, the modern food environment. Everywhere you look, unfortunately, even in doctors' offices. I mean, we have, you know, I look at my, you know, in our office, some of the snacks in the waiting room really are things that we are warning patients just next door in the in the exam room. This is not what you should be eating, yet they're everywhere. And, you know, I'll keep what Dr. Tiffany talked about, you know, the how insulin resistance develops. And she talked about all those symptoms. I just want you to take a look here. Most she already talked about, and just see whether there's anything that you see that you know you have, or someone you know, a friend, a relative has, and, you know, so that you know that this is something we're talking about you, we're talking about them. So the main problem, as you can see, is that, and Dr. Tiffany and I were there a while back, where we were treating not the root causes, but just the symptoms, or waiting until it is too late. As Dr. Tiffany says, by the time you wait for the A1C to be elevated, that's when symptoms are there, and that is diabetes. But all along, there's just been insulin resistance that's been lacking in the background. You know, I like to say the symptoms that we have, that fatigue, the food cravings, that I can't lose weight, I can't quite keep up with working out, I have this belly fat. And sometimes we just say, well, it happens. It happens as you age. It happens as you go through menopause. It happens as you go through perimenopause. And we just say that this is part of life. But this is the body whispering. It is telling you, I'm not well. I'm not well. Yes, I know the numbers are right, but I'm not well. So because of that, you know, there are things, as Dr. Tiffany said, what can you do? You know, a low carb diet, workout, increase fiber in your diet. But then we know what our lives are like. How easy is that to do? You know what you need to do. This is where you are right now on this hill, and you know you need to get to the other one. How do you get there? We try things and then we keep failing, and we're back here. And sometimes when you're back here, you're even, you know, higher up. You know, you're not doing any better. This hill does not seem to be getting any lower. And that's why the Feel Great protocol was developed. It's called the Feel Great system. And this is not a program or a diet. It's not a fad. This is a sustainable program. This is a sustainable thing that you're going to do, not just to lose weight, but to actually reset your metabolism. It is made of 2 food-based products, aka nutraceuticals, which you combine with the science of time-based eating, and together they form a simple and sustainable protocol. So the first product is called Unimate. Unimate is made from hyper-concentrated yerba mate tea. Now, if you've heard about yerba mate, you've probably seen it sometimes in the stores, either as tea leaves, and they even have like energy drinks made out of yerba mate that you find in the convenience store. But this is a clean, ultra-concentrated yerba mate tea, which is made in such a way that the chlorogenic acid levels are about 375 times more than what you would get from just the dry leaves if you steep them. Now, what does this Uni Mate, which is the name of the yerba mate tea made by Unicity, what it does is that it supports this feeling of well-being. You actually feel great. You know, when I first started on this and they told me it was called the Feel Great System, I thought, that's such a cheesy name. Who calls anything the Feel Great System? But the fact that now when people ask me, how are you doing? And somehow you find yourself saying, I feel great. And now I see why it was called the Feel Great System. It supports cognitive processes. You actually feel alert. There's this mental clarity. You almost feel like cobwebs have been taken out of your brain and you can see clearly, or your brain is working without feeling like it's struggling. It helps maintain endurance and stamina. So even for people who work out, and even you who's trying to get some activity into your daily life, it helps with that. It promotes satiety because what it does is that, you know, you've all heard about the shots, the GLP-1 shots. Now, those are exogenous. That's something that you get. It's artificial that you put into your body. Did you know that our bodies actually produce GLP-1 hormone? We produce it in our intestines. Now, the one we produce in our intestines, because it doesn't last as long. When you get the GLP-1 shots, you get 1 shot per week. GLP-1 hormone does not last that long in the body because its function is to be produced and then it activates other incretin hormones to keep you feeling full. So it's not supposed to last that long. Now, what this Unimate does, it actually augments the production of GLP-1 hormone in your intestines by up to 67%. And because this is the natural GLP-1 hormone, and you're taking this every day, you don't need it to last that long. You just need it to last long enough to make you not want to turn off that food nose. And because of that, it doesn't have any of the side effects that come with the artificial shots. So it helps support your weight management without any of the side effects. And then it also promotes lipolysis, which is fat burning. So, you know, you're not eating because you're fasting, and then it helps burn the fat that you have stored. And when you burn fat, you actually produce ketones, which is your brain's preferred form of energy. And that's part of why you feel that mental clarity. And as I said, you know, it makes you feel great. You can enjoy it any time of the day. It's non-addictive. It suppresses hunger. It boosts your mood. It improves endurance, and it promotes healthy digestion. And, you know, I'll talk about why these products are, you know, great for us. The other product is fiber. We call it Balance. Now, this you take just before you eat. And the reason you do that is because it's made out of this a mix of 7 different soluble and insoluble fibers in this matrix that once you take it, it goes and expands in your belly. And then it coats all the food that you eat. And what that does is that it slows down how fast food moves through your gut. It reduces how high glucose rises, how high and how fast it rises. And that's what we call the glycemic index. It's actually been studied and it shows that it reduces your glycemic index by about, the glycemic index of foods by about 35 to 40%. So when you eat, let's say, a piece of cake with this before, and when you eat without, your blood glucose will probably go up a higher, like 60 points, as opposed to when you take it with the Balance. The other thing that it does, because it is fiber, it is the favorite food for your gut microbiome. So it feeds the gut microbiome, and the gut microbiome supports you in all the ways that Dr. Tiffany talked about, you know, the feel-good hormones that are produced there, protecting your immunity, making sure that it's training your immune system the right way, and therefore you avoid having the autoimmune diseases. It helps in supporting weight management because it keeps you fuller longer. So when you take this before your dinner, you stay fuller longer, and then you're not waking up in the middle of the night feeling hungry. And when you wake up in the morning, you're not reaching for the nearest thing. It also helps with that supporting the time-based eating, because if you're staying full longer, it means you're not going to eat anytime soon. And so, as I said, it's a pre-meal drink, promotes satiety, it slows digestion, promotes healthy blood glucose. And because your glucose is not rising as fast, then your insulin does not rise as fast either. So how do we take this protocol? So when you buy it, it comes like this, what you see in this box right here. It comes with a bottle, and the bottle is calibrated. I'll show it to you. The bottle, I don't know whether you can see this. The bottle is calibrated. It has a place where you put water for your balance, that's the fiber, and then another level for putting the water for your Unimatic. Now you can add more water, you can take the Unimatic at whatever temperature. But what we do is that when we are fasting, when you wake up in the morning, since you've been fasting overnight, you want to take your Unimatic, which is the tea, so that you turn off that hunger noise and allow you to extend your fast to about 14 to 16 hours. And then when you eat your lunch, you make sure you're breaking that fast with a lot of protein, a lot of good fat and fiber. And then you take another tea in the afternoon. This helps, keep you from wanting to, be peckish and eat a lot of stuff in the afternoon. And then just before your dinner, you take the balance. You mix it, you sip on the tea, you chug on the balance. So when you put the balance in, you mix it and you drink it kind of bottoms up, and then you eat your dinner. And then you call it a night. And one of the things I like to advise people is eat in the daylight, because the other thing that happens is that if you eat at night, when melatonin has started being produced, because that starts being produced the moment the sun goes down, when you have melatonin being produced, it actually makes your cells a little bit insulin resistant. So you want to eat before that physiologic insulin resistance happens when melatonin is produced. So as I said, you wake up, you have your Unimatic hot or cold. The balance, you want to take it at a temperature that's easy for you to just quickly drink it. We have more flavors now. There's lemon, ginger, apple spice tends to be seasonal. We have decaf versions now of lemon, and there's the chocolate brownie mint, which is also decaf.
Yep.
And what makes these products different? So we have dedicated in-house scientists. There's third-party certification, clinical studies. Actually, I forgot to mention there that the Cleveland Clinic has actually studied the balance and has found that if taken consistently, it has the potential to reduce reliance on lipid-lowering medication, and that is statins, at a population level. So can you imagine that? We all know the side effects that come from statins. If we could actually reduce the reliance on them, at a population level. You can try it for 90 days. And if you don't see any changes whatsoever, the company actually guarantees your money back. We have third-party testing. It's not just tested in-house. It actually gets sent to other testers out there. And the products, as you see, they're helping people with life-changing results. And at this point, I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to invite Vincent maybe to just let us hear his story, because he also has a fascinating story. Vincent, let me look for you.
Let's see.
Tell them I'm driving if they're talking about me.
Which Vincent Davis, or is there another Vincent?
No, there's another Vincent.
Okay.
Okay, I'm trying to, let me see. Okay.
Okay, there you are. Yeah, there you are. Good.
All right. Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Angari and Tiffany, Dr. Tiffany, and also the person who introduced me to this great product, Josephine Kemunto Achira. She's a great person. And the first person I got to introduce is when Dr. Tiffany was in Maryland. She came to visit, and she was doing um, just telling us how this product works. And Josephine invited us, me and my wife, and I didn't know what we were gonna get into. And when I told Josephine that I've been using medication for, I've been type 2 diabetic for the last 10 years. So I've been on all kind of medication. Of course, I started with metformin, Ribellus, Jardiance, and with all that, it's I've never had a success to bring down my blood sugar. So with all that, my blood sugar has always been 289. If I'm lucky, it's 250. But when Josephine heard about it, she was like, "Okay, Vincent, we need to figure out what to do with this." And when I heard when Dr. Tiffany was in Maryland, I happened to attend just one of the meeting that she was giving out, and I was Josephine was like, "Okay, you need to try this." And I've been diabetic for the last 10 years. Of course, I've been using metformin, Jardiance, and Ribellus. And when I attended that meeting, my doctor was ready to up the dosage of my Ribellus and also introduced me to Jardiance. And because my blood sugar wasn't coming down at all, it has always been going up, and been exercising and eating, trying to eat right. But when I was introduced to this great product, I didn't even hesitate to use it. The moment I heard about it, the good things that it works and makes you feel great, I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. So the first week that I did, my blood sugar came down, unbelievable, because with my medication from 289 fasting, it came down to 200. And then within 1 month, I was able to control my blood sugar from 200 to 150. And then now I have it at 105/98 when I wake up in the morning. And then when I eat with my balance, of course, taking it right before any meals and my fasting, now I'm within 98 to 130 without any medication that I'm taking right now. So, as Richard was saying, I'm due for my physical or my just to go see my doctor, and he was just excited just to see what he's tried for so many years, because I've been seeing the same doctor for the last 10 years, but never at any point has my blood sugar come down. And at this point, I'm not on any medication, and I'm able to just feel good and be able to control, just because I have a monitor that tells me exactly where my blood sugar is. And right now, I was just looking at it, it's at 125. And I just had dinner around 6:30, which I'm really excited about it. And every time I was on metformin, it just made me feel tired. With the Ribellus, I would feel a little bit dizzy and dry mouth. But now I'm not on any medication, and I'm just excited to be on this product, and it works. And everyone looks at me. I used to be 210 pounds. Now I'm 180, and I just like the weight that I have. And with that, I'm gonna up my workout, but I've just lost weight and feel good without doing so much. And I just feel really great. And I just, every time I meet someone, it's like, what are you doing? I just introduce them to the product. And most of my family and friends, they understand, and they look at me and they wonder, what is it that I'm doing? And it's just the protocol that has done the magic. And I'm excited to be in it, and I'll continue using it. And I'm an advocate for this particular product, and even the business aspect of it is great. But above all, it makes you get out of your medication, and I can attest to that. And I'm not on any right now, and that's
That's
how
awesome.
good I feel.
That's awesome,
That's
Vincent.
awesome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for sharing. That is great. Now, in the last few minutes we have, well, it looks like 1 minute, right? Well, I was
Yep.
answering some questions in the comments. So we're gonna do a couple minutes for questions if we have any. Bring Dr. Esther and myself back. And if we don't, that is okay. We know we're in our hour mark. First of all, I want to thank you all for jumping on here. Let me tell you how much Dr. Nestor and I put into this. I think this was pretty good, sis. I think we did that. This is Black History Month. We represent the 2.5% of physicians. I think we some bad ladies. So, but after all, what do you suggest for those working at night? In the comments, I did put in there, Dr. Esther, what would you say to those working at night? What do you tell your people?
Usually what I tell them is that, you want to take Unimate when you're working, because that's when you're up and about. So take it when you're working at night, and fast, the same way, like maybe have a meal. Take it when you're working during the night, and then it's basically flip your day and night. Since you're up at night, that's when you're up and about. So that's what you want to do. And then take your balance whenever you have that largest meal. And I know this comes up because people have different ways of doing that large meal. Some of them do it like at the end of their night shift before they go to sleep. Others do it in the evening before they go to work. So what you do is that this is a flexible program. What you do is that whenever you're having that large meal, that's when you take the balance. And whenever you need to stay awake, that's when you take the Unimate. And this applies also to people who will say, okay, I don't usually eat a heavy dinner. My heaviest meal is lunch. If that is the most carbohydrate heavy meal for you, then take your balance before your lunch. It doesn't have to be fixed to dinner. So take it before the heaviest, especially the most carbohydrate heavy meal. And for the night, people just flip it around.
And I want to address this comment that's in here. And while I'm addressing this comment, for those of you that are on the products, can you put in here what the products have done for you? Put that in the comments too. But somebody put in here that they've been on the products for 6 months and their blood pressure has been increasing instead of decreasing for 6 months. And so before drinking, her blood pressure was 115 to 120 over 78, and now it's around 150 over 84. And her blood pressures had to increase. What do you do with this? Because you actually have patients in your office that you're using these products with. How do you address things like this, Dr. Esther?
One of the things to look at is what else is going on. Are you unmasking something else that has been probably hidden? So you want to look at all the things that Dr. Tiffany talked about in the theta. How are you sleeping? Might you have sleep apnea? Might you, what foods are you eating? Are you doing a lot of processed foods? Are you hydrating? Because that's a big one. Sometimes we think that if you drink too much water, that your blood pressure is going to go up. But actually, the opposite happens. When you're dehydrated, your blood pressure goes up. Yeah. So those are the things that I look at. We first don't just assume that this is because of this protocol. We actually look at hydration. And what I tell people is that super dilutes the product. If you're doing it with just the amount of water that we talked about, the bottle here, put it in like twice the amount of water, because that will make you now drink more water while you're still taking the protocol. I will sometimes have people just do one instead of the two, do one tea and then one fiber and monitor it from there, but pretty much take care of all the other things that could raise your blood pressure.
Yeah, because actually, since it's decreasing the insulin levels, it should not be raising your blood pressure. So that's exactly what I would do, is look at any outside things, because sleep, stress, all those things increase your blood pressure. So that would be a conversation with your sponsor or your provider too. Okay, well, I don't want to keep everybody on here too long, because we have another call after, because when we decide to do stuff, we decide to go all in and do stuff. So we have another call right after this one, same Zoom link, where we're going to talk about how we're able to help people, but also able to build income. Some of us have been able to walk off our jobs. And so if that is something that interests you, you're welcome to stay. If not, if you're just interested in these products, please get back to the person who invited you on this call, because they're going to work with you and they cared about you enough to invite you on this call. I am literally on a mission to help as many people as I can need less meds And Dr. Esther, I know you are on a mission too. That's why we've linked up together. Do you have any final words for our people before we let them go, since we've held them in our time limit?
Okay, one of the questions I always see, is this going to work for me? Is this going to work for me? Is this going to work for my particular problem? What I say is that it definitely is not going to hurt. There is no interaction with any medication. People are usually concerned about the medications they're taking. These products are in the physician desk reference, or now physician digital reference. So you can look them up there. They're not supposed to interact with anything. Try them. There's no risk in trying. You have a 90-day money-back guarantee. Try them and see what they do for you.
Yes, yes, yes. And a great question. First of all, we're going to do this every week. We're trying to do something consistently, because you can't do anything without it being consistent to expect some results. And so since we have big visions, big dreams on helping as many people as we can, we want to team up together and do this. So we're so excited that you guys jumped on this call, and you can find us again next Wednesday, same time, same link. Invite someone else, and we're going to show them what we're doing. Thanks so much for joining on. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week. For those of you that are staying after, stay after. Okay, you guys have a great Wednesday.